Armando, Armando, whoa, 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 whoa. Armando, Armando, então tu tinha. Roran Kanishi, Race. Okay, and my kiddo, one word. My kiddo, one word. I wish I could actually.
How are you, Paki?
Russell.
Whoop.
I'm good, sir. I'm good. Thank you.
Did you?
Mary, Mary join. Could you please come up on the panel? Could you please join us in the panel? In the panel. Hey, Russell, it should be join us on the panel or join us in the panel. Which
Who?
one is correct? Which one is
Join
correct?
us
Join us in the panel or join us on the panel?
for joy?
Join us, JOIN. Join us, US, in the
Not
panel, IN.
not Join. You mean Joyn?
JOIN, join.
Join. Who do you
Join.
want? Who do you
If
want?
you wanna ask someone join us on the panel or in the panel, which one is correct? On is correct or in is correct?
So did you have
What
a
happened?
good? Did you have a good exciting shift?
No,
No.
no. No, Russell, you didn't answer my question. Which one is correct?
What?
I'm gonna ask Kilo. Forget it.
Oh, you mean the spelling of join?
Forget Kilo. Kilo. Which
Which?
which one
Which
is
one?
correct? Correct.
Join.
Join
Join to the
us
world.
on the panel. Join us on the panel.
So what did you think of
Oh,
Buddy's song?
nice. But it's all join us on the panel.
Yeah, it sounded good. It almost sounded at the beginning Gordon Lightfoot-esque, and then the guitar kind of reminded me of the Rolling Stones. Uh,
One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, ten, eleven, twelve, thirteen, fourteen, fifteen, sixteen, seventeen, eighteen, nineteen, twenty, twenty-one, twenty-two, twenty-three, twenty-four, twenty-five, twenty-six, twenty-seven, twenty-eight, 29, 30. Now my kilo is also join.
If you listen to Rolling Stones, Time Waits for No One, there's quite a soloing going on throughout the song.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, Joy, where are you from?
Hmm?
Hey, I know where you are from, Joy. Where are you from? Where are you from originally?
You're fading.
I'm feeling. Can you hear me now? Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, now. Before you were fading away, like you were drifting off.
Sounds okay now.
So you don't like the career of security?
No,
No.
no.
You still want to be a prosecutor?
Yes.
Ah,
See, Joy, seriously.
start at the
But Russell,
top.
I can never be a prosecutor.
Start at the top.
Joy, seriously.
Well, it's probably not the easiest thing to start from scratch.
It's a very good job. It's a very good career if you believe in public service.
Well, if you're into law and spending the time necessary in a university to get your BA in law, and then you study more, and you get right into
No,
law and a good lawyer.
you need to get a JD and then you have to pass the bar exam. It's
Well,
very difficult.
yeah, but usually it
First you need
involves university education for most people.
first first you need like 4 year college.
Yeah.
Then the JD is like then you have to pass a LSAT law school admission test. Then you have to
Yeah.
pass. Then you
Put
have
in
to
your
finish
time.
2 year law school.
Well,
Then you have
you have to put in your time in court too before you perform as a district attorney.
that's apprenticeship. That's apprenticeship.
Yeah. Taking
No
legal
joy.
aid cases. Taking legal aid cases and pleading guilty. No. They usually want somebody decent on the DA.
I thought you were Russian. You were.
Even the assistants, usually they want somebody that's got a record that's pretty good in
Yes,
court.
but I can never be a lawyer, Russell. That's a dream which can never come true.
Well, if you're into law, you can always get into other areas. You can take that useless course called criminal law, or criminology as it is up here.
Russell. I believe that here in this country there is an internal threat than instead of there are more people suffering from the internal I would say element than the external one because the other things the amount of criminals and rapes and murders and God knows what goes on. A lot of people are just they just walk away easily. I don't know. So can you hear me? So
Yep. As the population increases, there's more pressures. And as the economy dies, there's less jobs, which puts more pressures. Crime increases, chaos, martial law, Chicago, East Side. No, it doesn't look like there's a lot of promising hope for the future anywhere on this planet, unless something drastically changes. A big correction. What will be the big correction, honest?
What?
What will be the big correction on the planet Earth to sustain mankind for longer
Uh,
than 50 years?
big correction. Oh,
What will it
provide,
be?
provide immediate justice. Immediate.
Will it be mass famine and disease to kill off half the population?
Uh,
From excessive weather that destroys crops and kills fish?
what are you talking about? Are you talking about some kind of a prophecy?
Well, you were saying how bad crime is getting in the United States, just out of hand. That's why you want to become a prosecutor and deal with all those thugs. Cleanse the world of the surface. So I
Not
was just bringing
possible.
up that it's just part of the morphine of mankind. It's kind of too bad.
Joy is Russian. I never knew
Russian?
that. Yes, Joy is Russian. I never knew that Joy is from Russia.
I thought he said he was from Serbia, Belgrade.
No, he's from Bosnia. Do
Bosnia.
you know? Do you know
Herzegovina?
Russo?
Yeah, but Bosnia
Yes.
Herzegovina is kind of part of Croatia anyway. Not
Hey Joy,
Kosovo. Kosovo, they don't recognize as such.
there was Pakistani army in Bosnia when they
Bosnia Herzegovina. That's where all the warring was
when
going.
when they had a war with the Serbs.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember.
Raden
I
Milosevic.
rem, I remember Clinton. Clinton was the president, and he's and he sent
It was
Pakistani
Radzik.
army in
It was
Bosnia.
Radzik Milosevic and Karadzik.
And I think they
Those are the
went.
guys.
They
Those are
went.
the guys that got charged and went to jail.
I think they went. They went as peacekeepers.
Yeah, when Clinton went in and bombed some of the Serbians from killing the Kosovo
Yes. Hey, Joy. Joy, have
Bosnian
you met?
Serbs. They were Bosnian Serbs. They were killing them.
Hey, Joy, have you met any Pakistani people in Bosnia?
Bosnia. Yeah, they were killing the Muslims, the Bosnian Serbs.
Oh my, oh my God, my voice is terrible. Never heard my voice. So I just open YouTube.
Why
Hey,
is that, Patty? Why is that? Why everywhere Muslims go, they always cause trouble and have wars? You know, like the Rohingya and Burma there from Bangladeshis.
yeah, dude, Muslims are trouble.
Yeah, it
They,
seems like everywhere they go, they start trouble, try conquest. You know, I
yes,
will take over you. We are the ones. We will have Sharia.
they conspire and they
Always fighting.
plan, plan and plot.
Always, always trying to conquest and impose their way. Our way
Yes,
is perfect. We are self.
my way.
Our way is perfect. We are self-convinced.
Mm,
The Mufti said.
mm,
So you will
Baby,
live
don't you
like
go
us.
my way.
You must live like us. We are perfect. You can't listen to that
You,
music. You must have your clit kept.
you should
You
become
must
a hypocrite like us.
you must bag your head. You must cut your clit. You must not listen to that music. You must not do anything. You will abide by the Allah, Mufti. It's funny how they always like to impose the Allah and whatnot like that. It's only them that want to be leaders, right? They're the ones imposing all the laws and saying, no, it is from God. No, it's from you. Just little tin pot dictators using Allah as their cloak of nobleness. I am a noble dictator. I only kill so many people.
I totally agree with you, Russell.
Yeah, it's not fair. Can't always be agreed. That crypto Steve, he's an Islamist, huh?
He's an Arab. Crypto Steam is an Arab.
Yeah, he's an Islamist too. Says
He's an Arab.
he's a
He's an Arab.
moderate, but well, you know how moderates are. They maybe don't support the ways, but they support, or they don't support the means or ways, but they support the end result.
They support every single thing. They're just hypocrites.
Well, if you
Just
look at them, when they did a poll in Egypt, 78% people said that people in Charlie Hebdo should have been at least put in jail for life, and about 60 said he should have been killed. And that's just the normal population.
forward.
Okay? For putting
Hmm?
that cartoon of Muhammad, I didn't even look at the cartoon. Remember when they got all upset and said, "Oh no, kill everybody, blasphemy"? Because that Charlie Hebdo in Paris wrote a cartoon with Muhammad on
But
there. I don't.
why? But Russell, have you ever
What?
thought that why do they put cartoons of
Well,
Muhammad?
you know what? They put cartoons of everybody. They can put a cartoon of my head, and it's just the way it is, and that's freedom of speech. And you
No,
lap
no,
it up
no.
and laugh at the
That's
people.
no. It's not freedom of speech
Sure it is.
when it is held on someone's else expense.
Well,
But
it's not at an expense. What it is freedom of speech does not end at people should not be allowed to say that because
no,
it
that
offends
doesn't
us.
mean that.
Being offended by
No.
something is why freedom of
Okay.
speech laws are there. If you're
Okay.
offended because
What?
you choose,
Okay, Russell. No,
if it's
Russell.
derogatory or not, whatever.
I don't give a shit. No, I don't care about anything.
Yeah,
I'm
neither
just,
do I.
I'm just,
But I
I'm
say
just
that
telling you
anybody
something.
else should. When people are
See,
mature and whatnot, they take
if you're,
criticism and go,
if you're, if you're, if you're offending someone's feeling, if you're hurting
yeah.
someone's feelings, that they believe that the prophet or would you say that Jesus was they are not ordinary people. They are obviously they are people. So at
But
least
I've put up with insults from, well, not much though. I remember hearing one Islamist type person saying something. I said something back, and they got mad, but they ended up running away. But um, in that hypocrisy, it was like they were saying all this derogatory. Oh, you weak people, you weak Westerners, you have no moral values, and you just run away every time. We fight, we're brave, and all that. And I said something to him, and he said something back. Then I went over to kind of, well, anyway, he ran away. But uh, yeah, I mean, you know, but that's what I always see is the hypocrisy. You can't say anything about us, we can say everything about you. In the Western world, you kind of have to put up with criticism and whatever they call it. It's just a way of free speech. Free speech is not meant to be nice and touchy feely. Can be. I mean, I don't care, I guess, what people call me or whatever they say about my life or whatever, my lifestyle, or Western, or it doesn't bother me. I just say, well, look at you, go to the mirror. There's no substance there for criticism of me. So it's just noise and wind, move the wind around. So it doesn't bother me. I couldn't care less what anybody said. I'll say something back, and they usually get mad. It's the way to
you're
be. Well, it's the way to be. Then you don't take offense to anything. Just look at the substance. If you're content in yourself, who cares what somebody else says? Think about it. If they're not going to benefit you financially, socially, sexually, or just plain be nice to be around to leave, who cares? Who cares if somebody says, "Look at the car you drive"? You know, what does he do in his house? Whatever. Little boys in his closet. Who knows? Who cares? Don't take offense to silly words. It is only a noise. Now, if they're taking money off you or kicking you in the side of the head, that's different. I wonder why Donnie never wants to come on here. I guess he's like, Ashley, there's something to hide or something.
Who's Donnie?
Oh, Donnie Zane, that guy there that always, comes on and says stuff, strange stuff. Crystal always chides him. Well, you got to start thinking about your career, Packy, what you're going to do if you're not going to be a security guard in
I'm gonna
America.
become. I'm gonna
In,
become a home. I'm gonna become a homeless drug addict.
oh, really?
Mhm.
That doesn't sound like it has a long life expectancy. I don't know about happiness. I guess you could, you have a lot of physical problems doing that for a living. The alcohol overtakes after you get a certain age, being pickled, things start failing, teeth fall out. You know, sometimes it's not too. It's a good masochist way, I guess, of going instead of committing right out suicide like Harry Carey or ODing or standing in front of a train, but more of a slow death. But death is assured.
Mhm.
Do you just keep your phone by your bed when you're sleeping or something?
Kind of.
Uh,
What time is it over there?
it is now 11:28 your time, p.m. or
So, so,
23:28.
so you're in New York?
What are you talking about? You're in LA and I'm in British Columbia, Canada. We're both in Pacific Daylight Time, PDE,
Oh.
which is now 23:28 or 11:28 p.m. Where I used to work, you use 24-hour clock, so it'd be 23:28. Did you know they use that on aircraft too, Patrick?
What? What aircraft?
Air traffic controllers use 24 hours clock.
No,
Maritime.
they're like different shifts, different people on different shifts.
Who, air traffic controller?
Mhm.
Yeah, I used to do rail traffic control. It's not really the same, but there is a certain amount. You don't want two trains hitting each other in the head. A certain amount of pressure. But if you got it all figured out, it's no big deal. You can't be goon doing it. No, I wouldn't recommend that. Or if you make a mistake, don't pour ink all over the panel so they can't trace it. That's what you could do, Packy, become an air traffic controller. Kind of high pressure, but you get good money. It's about 200 grand a year.
I
Supposed to be
cannot
lot,
do anything.
supposed to be lots of overtime in it, even though you're exhausted from just working one shift. Well, you know where they're going to be hiring, Packy? They're going to be hiring lots of people to do ICE stuff.
Mhm.
Border guards, internment camp guards, All the people that service that, food, cooks, all the people that construct it, run it, supply all the services for it. You could supply services for all those interned Hispanics. Come around with a cafe truck. Or wall building with the huge culverts that'll have to go underneath it where the coolies are that the Mexicans can come through. Did you know that, Packy?
What?
If they happen to try to build a wall in certain areas of Texas and New Mexico and Arizona, there's old dry coulee beds. But when huge, humongous rains fall, even 20 miles away, it turns from a dry bed to 40 feet of water by about 100 feet across or whatever. So if it comes upon a wall, what happens? Oops. So you have to have huge culverts under there. Well, culverts have to be open. You don't have a guy sitting there going, here comes the water, let's open. So people can go through there, after they break through the gating or whatever they have. But there'll have to be huge culverts to drain water because there is tributaries that go into Mexico from the States that are prone to huge flooding when there's heavy rain on the desert. Happens in Mexico all the time. They have warnings. Even if it's 20 miles away, you can get 20 feet of water coming up from the flow that happened an hour before. Makes it down 20 miles away. Whoops. Washes railroad bridges out in Arizona all the time. Not all the time, but it has. Come around the corner, it's all clear and everything, and the bridge is washed out. Whoops. And the rail's still attached so that it doesn't drop the signal. Oh, we're going for a ride now.
Right. Why are you up so late?
Who, me? It's 11:30. 11:30 isn't late. 1:30 is. Wow. Have you got control, Becky?
What?
Oh, no.
I just now got unhidden. Pecky, 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 pecky.
He's
I
almost
told
asleep.
you were gone for a very long time.
What's up, Russell? I was just gone for a little bit. Actually, I was checking out a little boxing match and stuff. But anyway, I think you went and grabbed a phone call, didn't you, Packy?
I did, but then I came back.
And now you're sounding like you're gonna go to sleep, Packy.
I am almost.
You sound like
Oh,
you're almost up.
Box? Do they still
dude,
box nowadays?
I'm up since like 4 a.m.
They had this compilation of Manny Pacquiao fights. I was watching.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that guy's pretty cool. He actually trained with Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal knows his dad and helped train Manny a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he was probably about the last pretty one to watch Mayweather. Um, like I said, and Mayweather. But nowadays, I don't know. I don't know. Roy Jones is about the last guy I watched, I guess.
Yeah, I don't. I haven't watched them in quite some.
Okay, guys, I'm out, man.
Yeah, whatever. No, you're not. You always do that, man. Don't get me up here and then leave, man.
I'll stay. I'll stay.
Man, that's man. You can't do that, Packy.
I'll stay. Okay, I'll stay.
It's just
Armando.
It's those hard. So what is it? Do you work 12-hour shifts on security or 10?
Uh, Actually, Russell, I have like 3 days. I work only 7 hours. So
Oh,
on
really?
Saturday and Sunday, I have 12-hour shifts. So.
Everybody I knew usually worked like 12-hour shifts on security, 10 at a minimum.
No, I was swing shift from 3 to 10 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But I have to get up early because I have to go to gym because I didn't go
Packy.
to.
Hey, Packy. Are you are
Hmm.
you laying are you laying your lips on the microphone? You talking to the tip like that?
What?
You just have a light and the microphone.
What are you saying?
That's what you're doing, man.
Okay, I said I work only 7 days, and no, sorry, 5 days, 3 days on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, three to 10. It's a swing shift,
Are
and
you on
from
a are you on hourly rate or are you on a salary?
hourly.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
No,
like on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's like 3 hours.
yeah.
No, sorry, 7 hours, 3 to 10.
Well, a good
And
friend of mine, he was security for the movie industry. So on all their sites and whatnot, he'd do that security 12 hours a day. But he lucked out because he got in one of their unions and started driving truck. It's not a bad job working for the picture
I don't
industry.
I don't like working security. It's a boring job.
No, it is. But he used to do a lot of things while he was there. Like to keep himself occupied, like interesting stuff. Learned how to play a banjo, pretty good too. And then he went into driving truck for the movie industry. Got into a Teamsters union and good seniority, so he just crossed over into that job because he was qualified. But that's how he started, beginning security way back. I don't know, in the 80s, 85. Yeah. So it was a good bridge for him to get into a way better position. They make good coin when they 12 hours a day, everything overtime after 8. Just driving a truck with that equipment, you have grips and take out, lights or whatever it is, preps and props.
Exactly.
It's a good industry to get in. There's lots of money. I mean, up here
Mm.
In Vancouver, I worked around them a few times. They'd have like advertisements, so we'd have to do some silly train thing for weird advertisement for Spain or Japan. I could never figure them out. And yeah, just getting to know people and whatnot like that. Even the people that rent the equipment, like the lighting equipment, drive the trucks, and all the equipment needed, they make some good coin too. It's not a bad industry to get in. Clean. There you go. Try to get security in the movie industry. It'll open the doors for other things. You can be a movie star. You'll be found.
Exactly. Hey, buddy, I'm down. Okay, I'm completely down.
What you just said back in
Yes, I can.
you just go to sleep, Packy, and get you some rest, man.
Take care, buddy. Take care, Russell.
Okay, I will. You
Are you
take
out?
it.
Good night.
Take care.
All right,
Take care, everyone.
sleep good, Packy.
Good night,
What's
everyone.
this on screen? Is that Armando on there? Is that you?
I think the ET thing.
ET for what?
In that
Acting?
movie, he asked a question in YouTube chat, something about at the end of the movie, where did he point to?
Oh, home.
Yeah.
Isn't that what ET pointed to? Home? Ooh.
Yeah, but I can't remember actually when he pointed at his frontal lobe.
I don't know. Wasn't that movie like, that was, I don't even know how old I was when that movie. 24?
Yeah, that's a pretty good while back.
80s. Was it early 80s?
God, I must have been 4 or 5. I'm only 29.
Yeah, right. I look in the mirror and see what I am. I used to be 29. Pretty
you're
stupid back then.
you're 29 now, if you want to be.
Well, compared to what I look like at 29 and now, I don't really see it. Well, there is a resemblance. You know who it was. I was a little more.
Hey, I keep hearing something. Is that a big dog?
Yeah, it's the dog upstairs. It won't. Every time I take the microphone off, it'll be quiet for hours, and as soon as I do, it starts fucking doing laps up there. So it's just one of those things.
That sounds like a pretty good sized dog.
I don't know. It's about 80 pounds. Needs
Wow.
its nails clipping though.
Yeah, I can hear
Good
that.
enough running. They should run it more. I mean, it needs to be run, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, their claws get too long.
I think I have some. I ended up buying some big old nail clippers for this little dog that someone brought me by here. I have to trim her little claws all the time. So I bought one of those claw trimmers. It works pretty good.
Yeah. Sometimes you can't go too far in though, or you'll hit the whatever it's called, cartilage or that cuticle or whatever it's called in there.
Right. Yeah. I just barely trimmed the tips back some.
Yeah. I mean, if they get enough running, usually they'll wear it down, right? If they don't,
That's right.
if they're just on carpet all day or sit there in the house,
Yeah. Right.
it just grows longer and longer. Yeah. So I heard your song there. It was reminding me of the beginning of Gordon Lightfoot, and then your guitar in there was reminding me of Time Waits for No One, you know, and the Stones, you know, how was that Mick Taylor that did that? No, that would have been Richard, wouldn't it? You know, time waits for no one, and then the guitar goes in there with that tone.
Yeah.
All through the song.
I had forgotten about that thing, and we're going through doing a spring cleaning, right?
Yeah.
And I had all kinds of stuff packed in one of my dresser drawers, and I had forgotten I even had this.
Oh, was that from a while back?
Oh yeah, this is I think 2002.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man, I found it. Now, the reason I do this, sometimes I'll run into a studio.
Yeah.
When I have a song idea, and I'll record just the plain tracks, just
Oh yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Just something
just so I don't forget it. Yeah, just so I don't forget the song.
Exactly, and it's on there, and then you've got it.
Yeah, but yeah, as far as I know, it doesn't hurt the streams or anything whenever I do that, because it's, you know, it's not out anywhere. I mean, it's mine. And but yeah, I found that, man, and I was like, damn, I couldn't even remember what it was. And I stuck it in a little while ago, and that's been the first time. Let's see, 2002. So that's been wow. Yeah.
Like I said, the beginning of the song almost sounded Gordon Lightfoot-esque, you know, like kind of a.
That's been quite some time ago when I did this. Now that I think about it, but yeah, man, I might play. I tell you what, I'll play just the first little bit of it there. I won't play the whole thing, but that's the first time I've heard it too, and I'd forgotten. Let me see if I can get this damn thing to work. It's not even the whole song. It's just the song idea, so I wouldn't forget it and I could build on it later.
If you're not familiar with that Stone song, "Time Waits for No One," put it on and just listen to the guitaring in there, and you go, oh yeah, right.
I will, man. I'll check that out.
Yeah, do it.
Let's see if this thing. I always have to close this stuff out. Let's see here. Yeah, this was like one of those. I was kind of in a mellow mood. I came up with this, and so I ran into a studio somewhere. I can't even remember what studio I went into. And I said, "Hey, man, how much you charge me to just lay these 3 tracks real quick? I already got it down what I want to do." And I said, "But I want it mixed. I want it mixed, not mastered, but I want it mixed when I walk out with it. How much can you charge me?" I think he did it for $250 for me. And but I'm doing all that here now myself in my own studio, so I don't have to do all that anymore.
No, I mean my buddies and that used to put down riffs and that just right on stupid tape recorders because that's what it was back then. I mean you didn't have a
Right.
chance to go into a studio. I mean I took audio engineering in '82 and '81 just before.
Really?
Yeah, just before digital came in. So yeah, I had myself in on the board and doing mixes, getting grades for them.
Damn, man, that's cool.
Yeah, it was fun. And geez, I lost my train of thought here.
Let me s-
Oh, yeah, like he used to just guys I knew like Jeff on bass and that he just used to, if he had a riff, he'd just put it right on his, that's what we had back then. You didn't have, they just put it on the tape recorder and you always had it.
Right.
Just as normal 2-track, no mic, just whatever.
I don't know how many times I'll be somewhere and I'll go, man, I'm going to forget this before I get back where I can at least write down the words or something to make me remember it. And so I got in this mode for a while. It was expensive at the time, but I had to. And every time I came up with a song idea, I would immediately that or the next day or the next couple days run into any studio I could find and say, look, I don't want no master thing. I just want the bass lines and the vocal. I'm not even going to do the whole song just so I don't forget the song. And I could usually get that done for about $250 or $300. And
I remember when I was practicing, like when I was in the band practicing singing before, when I was really young, like 20, 21, I just blast up the stereo and I could be louder than Robert Plant or whoever.
oh yeah,
And just blast over and tape it and throw it in my cassette deck in the car and listen how bad it was. But sometimes, I was pretty pleased on, okay, got that one. See how that goes over with the band. And,
Yeah.
you could listen to yourself because you didn't have monitor. It was back in the day when things weren't, when I bought my digital delay, how much was that? It was like $2,200 in 1980, 81 or
Wow.
something.
Do you
Yeah, it was
remember
$2,200. It was a lexicon, and I went,
Lexicon?
I needed it, right? And I'm going, fuck, $2,100, but oh yeah, but I don't have to use a loop tape. I don't have to reverb
Those
it,
those old Lexicon units back then were real good. And
Oh,
Evan,
awesome. Well, Mike used to put his guitar through it and everything when we patched all through it.
absolutely, that was top notch stuff back
Oh
then.
fuck, it
Russell.
was. That's why I paid $2,200 because I knew that not just for vocal where you can get repeats and choruses and whatever you want, but you put
Man, I could
all
talk-
through. The guitar could go through. Everybody can go through it.
That's right. And do you remember the old Orban compressors?
Yeah, that's. We had one of those. What else was it? Is it
And,
Aaron Cardner? I can't. No, it wasn't.
Eventide. They had Eventide
Yeah.
back then.
I can't
And,
remember the compressors. But yeah, well, of course we had to have them.
But you know what I did,
Yes.
man? I incorporated a lot of that top-notch vintage gear into my guitar rig.
Yeah.
So when I went and played live, I actually had that stuff, my guitar running through it on stage.
Oh yeah, you get some great sound too. Almost
Yeah.
make it sound like a theremin.
Yeah, man. I mean, actually, I still do that to this day. I have some old Effectron units out there.
Yeah.
And MXR rack units that they made. And, God, what else? Echoplexes. You remember those?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to do. We used to do quite a bit of experimenting back then on those because, like I said, it was before digital. Because I remember being in class or being in the studio, and everybody was
Right.
right into the new digital, and then people were going, well, I wonder how it'll work. Well, what it does take this frequency, and that way, and we were talking like, wow, we can split that up and just we could take the worst recording 2-track and put it on 4 and just sweeten it right up, take everything out. But then,
Exactly.
I was kind of gone, went to my real job that never got into the digital part of it. But then people I was talking to were complaining about, yeah, it doesn't really have the real feel. There's just something missing in the digital.
Right.
Would say that, and some guys would go, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Fucking you're
Well,
stupid.
yeah. So what? Yeah, they went through a thing where even the studios in Nashville,
I think it
when
was
digital came along, they got rid of all their digital stuff. I'm sorry, they got rid of all their analog stuff.
analog. Yeah.
And then once they got all that digital stuff in there, they realized, and their 2-inch tape machines and everything.
Right. Yeah.
And then they realized, oh shit, we've lost all this warmth and these things
Well,
that
that is. I think
can't.
what it was is with digital, everything's precise. So it's like a bridge. There's little lines, like it's frequency to here, and then it
Exactly.
ends. And then we put this one next to it. And then we put this one next to it. Instead of like analog kind of like flows into it.
Exactly.
It kind of ends there and overlaps and then starts again. And that I think was taken out of it. I mean, I would listen. I would almost, can't you hear that being more tinny? And I'd say, I kind of can, because now that I listen to both at the same time,
Right.
instead of listening to one and then turning off and listen to the other and trying to compare, you can. I said now, on the headphones, when I'm listening to both one ear and the other
Right.
on mono, I can see, that there was a difference, but not like, I don't know. It depends on the
Right.
individual.
Yeah. In a nutshell, it was real hard for me to get the warmth out of the digital stuff, and
Yeah.
the Well, even to this day, I use the old.
Well,
Uh,
you know what? I analog to me is as good as any digital.
that's right.
It might be, yeah, you can't clean it up quite as precisely if you've got a lot of hiss background or whatever that you have interference. But you can still do it. I mean, you can split it into 20 tracks, 16, whatever you want.
Yeah, I'll tell you what
Um,
I found, Rick. Russell, is the very first solid states. Some of the effect units, like the echo. In other words,
yeah.
in the '60s, they had the tube echo plexes from
Well,
'60.
they had the loop tape too. That it was like an echo loop. Remember that?
That's what I've got.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, they had a lot of them, but my favorite is the Maestro Echoplex.
yeah.
And matter of fact, I had 12 of those right before I went to the Philippines. And
Big reaper.
yeah, I run 2 of those when I play live off stage, because I run 3 circuits.
Hmm.
And actually, I'm still using the 1971 Echoplex out there right now, a red one. And let's see. So I've got about 4 of them left. But I found that the first couple of years of solid state, when they had the big components in some of the effect units, they do really well coupled with the early analog guitar amplifiers from the late '60s and the early '70s, where it was still point-to-point hand wired. And so that's kind of what I got going on out here. It's not my concert rig, but it's man, I'll put it to you this way: I can't cut it up past 1.5, man.
No.
Uh,
Well, nowadays, some of the home studios that you can put together now, just from computers and whatnot, and the right equipment, and then you go post with your amps. It's pretty miraculous compared to what I was working
it
with.
really,
Now that you can build almost a studio, and oh yeah, it'll cost you some bucks, but you can build a half decent recording studio in your own house with the equipment available, like just computer wise now. I mean, with the EQs and everything they've got,
that's
they're all
right.
just online, and all the
Yeah,
effects you can buy. I mean, like I said, you do have to invest some money, because it's not all for free, right? But
right.
it's pretty good though. This is
Yeah,
music you
man.
can get for just a few $1,000s.
That's right. This little, I'm gonna try to listen to this thing real quick, and I'm gonna cut it off after the lyrics. This was kind of a it was hard for me to even do material like this. I felt like at the time it was dorky stuff.
I don't know.
But
It doesn't sound bad.
I
Either.
also know that later on, I've like written 8 songs and took pieces from those 8 songs and put them all
Yeah.
together to make one. So I always
Yeah.
try to get the song idea down, no matter how lame it sounds. But this is what I call kind of an easy listening song or whatever.
But I mean,
yeah,
you took that idea and structured it to a complete song and whatnot like that. You know, maybe even with other guys' input, like. But I think it come out pretty good. You know, like
right. Yeah, it's
as
not
much
too
as
bad.
much as anybody else's song. Well, like I said, it was Gordon Lightfoot-esque. I heard kind of in the beginning, and then Time Waits for No
Well,
One guitar.
tell me what you hear in this. I'm gonna play it real quick and then cut it off.
All right.
If I can get it to work. Every time I walk away from you, I feel, and I can't imagine how I never made love without you. Now that I've found your love, 1,000 miles away, every single day. Wow, look at the love light shine across the Milky Way. Now that I've found your love, 1,000 miles away, every single day. Wow, look at the love light shine across the Milky Way. Yeah, to you, darling.
Sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, that was just a mix. No master, no nothing, just to get the song idea down real quick. That's all I did.
It's funny the way when you're singing there, when you go, hey, it reminds me of how way Gordon Lightfoot sings.
I'll
That
have to check
certain
that out.
word. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
just in essence of it, you know, I always hear things that are similar, and then the guitar sounded similar to me, like Time Waits for No One.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I'll check that out.
Yeah, because it has the same tone and the same kind of. You'll hear that there's a similarity of the sound and the progression.
Yeah, I'm kind of pleased with the different styles that I've come up with. That's really out of my context right there. I mean, that's like almost.
I think that song could that could be something. I mean, as far as I heard around that, I mean that song could be made into something. I'm sure of it, just because it's catchy.
Yeah,
And I don't usually like songs first time I hear them. Take a couple, but it's got some catchy. It's got a catchy riff, and probably no. I'm telling you, I mean, maybe I'm full of shit, but I think the song could be made into a pretty good one.
I think so. I think it can
I
be
do.
built on.
It's got the basis to work on. I mean, you're over soloing right now and that, but it's a rough take, right? I mean, you know that. You know,
Exactly.
musicians are. Everybody knows they get told when to stop. You know?
Right. It's just the song idea, man, and then I
Yeah, it's all. And that is what makes songs, right? I mean, you take it and you go, okay, we've got a bass here, so we'll just put this here, maybe a little bridge in the middle, and then back to the rest. It's pretty catchy. Kind of a nice flowing type, almost Leonard Skinner-esque even in a way.
it's got a little bit of that in there, yeah. But
You know,
that thing that goes kadoo kadoo doo
well,
doo.
just kind of the rolling kind of, kind of just yeah. I mean, I know Nolan said it was just a bunch of notes or something together or whatever, but
Yeah, it was just a quick song idea, but I think I can build on that and make something.
I think so. I think that song's got a real good bass for a pretty good listenable song that's good as anything on the radio.
Yeah, it was way out of my context. It's not used to my normal style of playing, but I came up with that little,
Well, like I
that
said,
little
it's got a catchy melody.
yeah, the little
It
twang,
does.
the doo 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 doo.
Sure.
And I was like, that's kind of dorky, but yet I kind of like it. And I was like, what can I do with that?
Yeah, I didn't think it sounded dorky at all. I thought it sounded kind of, like your Freebird or something flowing along.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not that song. I just mean that kind of feeling.
Yeah, I've been holding this right here because I figured DeMello might want to hear this too because kind of dug it out of the archives. I didn't even know I had it.
Yeah, I definitely, if our band came up with a riff like that, there's no way we'd say, "Oh no, I'll put that on the shelf." It'd be completed, like let's complete this fucker thing. See how good it sounds.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get all this mess out of the way in my life right now. Get back to that. That's exact, man.
Well, yeah, that's when
It,
you need that
it's killing me
healing.
too, Russell, because I got everything set up out there. I got the cables run, the headphones hanging, microphone stand sitting there, recorder hooked up. It's killing me, man. It's just sitting there waiting.
It's funny when we were in our one band there that was pretty good, like a great bass player, awesome guitars. Half of the originals we wrote would be in the van or whatever we were traveling in.
Right.
And I was all, yeah, we were always half gooned, but we weren't driving. That was funny. And yeah, some of the songs that came out of that, and even, you couldn't, like at night or whatever, like unless you're in a campground, you didn't do that very often. You couldn't really do anything in a motel room or whatever. But
Right.
in the van was good.
Yeah. That old saying, I always sing good when I'm in the shower.
Mm.
Man,
Yeah, I
don't
I
know
can't
why,
remember.
but it's so true, man. I mean, I'll come up with all kinds of ideas when I'm riding down the road, taking a shower. I'll be mowing the yard, and all of a sudden, man, a tune will start going through my head. It's kind of crazy the way it works.
I will seem to be the best if I'm sitting there, like, then with I've been in a band or karaoke, but when you're all drinking years ago, drinking and the music's on loud and then just going with the song in and they're all like, "You're going, yeah."
Right.
Or you're doing it loud enough where everybody thinks that you're the one singing it, not the original singing over top.
Right. Score some groupies, True Text. Score some groupies. Man, I wish
I
that.
remember I remember going on a tour all the way to Eastern Ontario, and I managed to send home $1,000. And you know what? Because of the band canceled, and the manager guy that had the whole thing put together
Uh-huh.
from the West Coast to the East, and then he hired us because Mike, But I didn't care because we were getting $200 a night, 6 days a week each. I didn't, they supplied, he supplied all that equipment and transportation and whatnot. I mean, when we were traveling, we weren't getting paid, but
Right.
when we were, I mean, in the plane. But I mean, how long's that? But No, it was $200. That was in 79, 80. Because I remember going to the Who concert when we were there in Pontiac, Michigan.
Man, wasn't that a blow mind? I mean, man, the Who was just that.
Yeah, that's when those people got crushed to death in Cincinnati,
I remember.
and we were all worried because we had tickets through people that we knew that knew the guy that was the manager to go like and get even in a box and that. We never did make it in there, but so we were worried they were going to cancel because those people got trampled, right? But what they did in Pontiac when we went down there, in our rented Lincoln, um, the the doors were open from noon, so there was nobody out there getting all hyped up, right? They were open at noon, so people were sitting in there from noon or whatever that were their seats. We didn't care because we had seats that were supposed to be. We were supposed to go into the box. The guys that I think it was bullshit anyway, but we had good seats. But yeah, that was a really good concert too.
Yeah, man.
Kenny Jones was great that night on drums.
Oh yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, it was 1980, I believe, January, because I remember we were gone for 2 months. Yeah.
Man, those were the good old days.
You know what? I said $1,000 from that 2 months. So I tell them, oh no, I'll make money and stuff.
Uh,
I managed to. I don't know how I got $1,000 together. I had mushrooms on me too. um, well, yeah, we picked them anyway. Yeah, I managed to have $1,000 I sent home. And when I got home, I had nothing. Of course, never made no money. Why did you make money? I never did. Not not going and playing live anywhere. Or, enough to live on. I mean, you never had any like in the bank or anything. You're playing at Rockstar too, and that gets expensive.
yeah, man, I've had my dreams shattered so many times out there. I mean, you had
Oh,
these
yeah. It's
certain
tough.
people that would come along and say what a big promoter and
Yeah.
marketing person they were, and you'd run
Oh,
down
yeah.
you'd run down that alley, and all of a sudden you figure out they were full of shit. And just take it.
Oh, yeah. Well, me, I'm always calling. I'm always somebody has to prove they're not full of shit for
Right.
me to trust them. So it's all saying, oh, here we go then.
Yeah.
And I had a real job too, and then all of a sudden it picked up in '83, I believe. Yeah. So I was trying to straddle both, and I couldn't because
Right.
like I mean, I was working, and I couldn't do both.
Just too much.
And the guys wanted to get on too, right? Like the rest of like Jeff and Mike were great musicians, guitarists and bass player. We went through a few drummers, and oh no, just wait for me now. So they had to carry on and do what they had to do, and I couldn't. I had to make a choice. I said, am I going to dream this, or am I going to be real here? So I went, better be real there because it pays more.
Yeah, people don't realize how tough it is, that life transition.
Oh shit. If you're trying to break through into the music industry, unless you're established and maybe you're doing jingles or something like that, or like on the side, like to make some money, you're not. It's pretty hard to make a living. You know,
Right.
I mean, I'm not talking about doing gigs, 2 or 3 times a week that are going to be paying like 5, 10 grand a show or something.
Right.
But they don't have it anymore up here. I don't know about yours, buddy, but they don't have like the A circuit, B circuit like when I was younger.
Well,
Like
that's that.
when you did all the bars, like there'd be like every city, in Canada would have at least, I don't know,
No, you're right. That's
25 or 30 bars that were live bands 6 days a week.
absolutely. I can give you a perfect example about what happened down in the Myrtle Beach area in South Carolina. I
Yeah.
was playing all up and down the coastline there. Man, had it going on. And then Dan Aykroyd bought the chain of House of Blues.
Right.
Yeah,
Have you got a TV in the background?
I think that's 7.
Oh, okay. It's really loud.
Hey, Seven, I'm gonna mute you just for a minute, man. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, carry on.
Let's see if I can. I don't like doing that, but probably doesn't realize it. He should be able to unmute that when he gets ready.
Oh,
But
man, but that's too much. Oh, he took it
oh,
off.
he just dropped out. He dropped out by accident. I guess he bad signal. He couldn't hear. He couldn't talk. But what I was gonna say was, so when Dan Aykroyd bought the House of Blues,
That's cool.
he when they put the House of Blues in down there, it killed all my venues, man.
Well, up here, like even in North Van, which would have been North Vancouver, I can count. Okay, Whispers, the Avalon, Linwood, the Coach House. And that's four in North Van. Then you go across to Burnaby, and then there's North Burnaby, and all these all these bars had live bands,
Right.
5 or 6, mostly 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday.
Right.
And so they hired, the A circuits and B circuit. A circuit was a bit better, so it'd be a bit bigger of a format. They'd pay more,
Right.
$2,000 a week or something. But yeah, so there's all the A and B circuit band guys would be traveling around Prince George, like all the towns in British Columbia. You could pretty well just tour one province, and that would keep you.
Right.
That would take up all your time because you go to Prince George and Kamloops, and then up to Prince Rupert.
What used to get to me the most, man, is so it's like you finally get 5 or 6 guys together, and you felt like you had something, right?
Yeah.
And then
personalities.
well, no, and to where you feel like all of that's a pretty good mix, and then you start trying to come up with the magical music. Well, and you feel like you get a good hold on that. Then, as soon as you get some offers to go, one state over, then you got 3 members out of that 5 that's saying, "Oh, I can't do that, man. I got to go to work."
Yeah.
Well,
Well, that's it. And then like I used to try to get back into it when I was bored in different stages of life, my 30s and even 40s. And, you'd meet a few guys after going through about 10. And it'd be the same deal, oh, we're going to do a wedding and that, but, oh, geez, yeah, I can't make it. It's like, well, I thought we were supposed to do this wedding for $1,000, like, I mean, it's not like you need the money. But, oh, I can't, it's like, fuck, but that was, everybody's like got kids and wives and stuff like that, and they'd want to do it and it's just a hobby, right?
well, and so what starts happening over and over again after, and you can have all the drive and determination, but if you keep getting caught up in those same groups, you get all these high expectations, and then you just keep getting let down.
It's tough.
And,
you really got to have thick skin.
I remember, man, there was a couple of bands I was in. We got in fist fights, man. I was like, you just told me 4 weeks ago that you were gonna, no matter what, when we got the offers, you didn't mind where it was. We would go.
Yeah, I can't ever remember getting, because I mean, I'm not bullshitting. Anybody that I played with, I could have picked up with one arm and thrown. Right? So there was that. Well, yeah, I mean, it just comes, with the territory, and so.
Yeah.
But there was always, I mean, you don't want to hit. It never got it to a point where. But yeah, there's always personalities.
Right. No.
And like you say, when things are going, there's always something that fucks up.
Oh yeah, man. Check
Jesus.
this. Yeah, check this one out.
Where are we gonna get another drummer?
So we finally got to whether you like him or not, he sells out every show. Jimmy Buffett,
Oh yeah. Why not?
And, he lives in Cocoa Beach, Florida, and so we got a gig to open up for Jimmy Buffett.
Right.
And I was like, wow, man, hell yeah, he knows everybody. Blah 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 blah. And so, man, you just won't believe the things that come up. So anyway, we're all loaded up, got the trailer, got the damn motorhome, everything sitting beside the highway, getting coffee in the store. And I come out and I said, hell yeah, man, we're going to be opening up for Jimmy Buffett. Now we got all the contacts we need. And in my mind, man, no matter what, because I had been let down so many times, I was going to take full advantage of this gig. In other words, I was going to try to get on a circuit opening up for him wherever he was going, because that's a good train to jump on right there.
Oh yeah, well, of course.
And you won't believe it, man. So I got my coffee. I come out of the store, and he had never done this before. I knew this guy 15, 18 years, man. And the other guitar player, one of the other guitar players. And I came out there, and he was looking at me all funny. I said, "What's wrong with you, man?" And he said, "Man, I just had a premonition something bad's going to happen." And I went, "What are you talking about? Nothing bad's going to happen, man. Let's go." He goes, "Listen, man." He said, "Walk with me a few minutes." And he started on this long thing about he doesn't know how, but he already saw a picture of, well, we were going to get in some terrible wreck, you know, this super,
Oh,
you know.
like that Twilight Zone episode when Darren Steve and Dick York could see that the next guy's going to die.
Yeah, and
His
exactly.
face would glow.
I had never seen this. That he had never done anything like that. And I said, "Listen, man, let me just put it to you this way: if it's our time to go, it's our time. Let's freaking go, dude. We're loaded up. We're ready, man. Let's please, man, don't do this."
Yeah,
And man, he couldn't get over it, dude. So that whole thing, and the guy that promoted it and set this thing up, he
yeah,
was he was blowing our phones up, man. What in the hell
I bet.
are you guys on the highway or what? Please, God, don't let me down, man.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, whoa.
So, man, that was, I mean, man, I didn't talk to him for about a year and a half after that.
But some people are afraid of success sometimes,
You know what, man? I really,
and they are like I used to look at my brother. He'd build these perfect cars and
I have ran
whatnot. Never
across,
want to sell them. I don't know. They're afraid of success. I don't know why.
I have ran across that so much. And I mean, these guys, they seem so confident. I got an
Yeah,
old saying, so some other guy he used to have a saying, man, you don't know really who you got until you go to get on the bus. And I said, no, you still don't know who you got until you're heading down the highway and you're almost there and you're loading on stage to get ready to play. You don't know who you got.
yeah. I can't think of anybody that surprised me with something like that. Where you think, like maybe a girl or two. I can't remember, but yeah, I got everybody I knew. They're jumping off the bridge. They fall.
You might be right, Joey. He might have been on something. I don't know, man. But anyway, I'd never seen this
Never
guy
know.
do that. And, it just freaked me out, man. I was so pissed, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, I
All
mean,
the
think of that.
loaded up.
That's a pretty good opportunity.
Yeah,
Going with a
ready. I mean, loaded up, ready to roll down the highway, man. Everybody's there. I had the bass player up from the coast, everything. And I
pretty
said,
high profile.
yeah, we're going to do this, man. And you got to remember, I'm not even telling you the other stuff, but so everybody, because you're working a normal job for a living, and you have to you got to tell your bosses, hey, I'm not going to be there for a week. Can I get a week off? And all those things in the background are already, I had already.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he pops up with that, and I was like, Jesus, man, look, okay, well, driving a car, I'll drive the motor home, just driving a separate car then. But man, he was, anyway, we didn't go, man. And it was, man, that guy was,
Wow.
his name was Steve that set it up. And he lived down in Florida, and we knew him real well. And he had some really good contacts. He's the one that set it up. And man,
You
I heard,
couldn't you couldn't replace them or nothing like on a whim or nothing. Eh?
well, I think he did get lucky and call another band that he knew to fill in.
Yeah,
But
that's too bad.
yeah, oh man, but you never know. You just, I mean, so you get to the point to where, you start saying, okay, I love music, but I can't deal with this crap anymore. You
Yeah.
know? So I've always tried to remember it's not the music that's doing those things.
No.
know.
I remember having a drummer that he was good, strong, could hit hard, but he wasn't very reliable. You know, it was always fucking up with
Right.
excuse and stupid girlfriend, drinking too much, and you know,
Thanks.
kind of, he wouldn't show up sometimes. Be like, what? So you just had to say, yeah, whatever. Then get somebody else, and it was pretty hard to find somebody with. It was always the most talented guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, man. It's you know,
And
and
then
of
they,
course, you know the old saying too. If you drop off one member, it does change
it does the
the
dynamic.
dynamic of the group.
It does.
And so you just wow, man, I could go on and on forever and a day about all this stuff, but
I
it's
know.
you already know it. I mean, it's just you start to what am I doing? I'm
Well,
basing
you think that.
my life on a bunch of losers. You know,
Well, you think that you think you've done something wrong and you're being punished. It's
yeah.
like, how come you bring me up to this point and always let me down?
I went through some really weird psychological changes every time those things would happen. Man, I was like, man, this is a curse on my life or something, man.
Well, I guess for me, I always thought in the back of my mind, don't take this too serious.
Right?
Because this is fun and you're not going to be the next Robert Plant, Led Zeppelin, or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's what I tried to do, to be quite honest about it.
And that's what I was told myself, in the end. But I still tried to live like it.
Yeah, I know. Well, damn it, nothing. I just don't want to. I didn't want all the circumstances of the industry itself to kill my music off, kind of thing.
No, no, no. And I mean, music is such a, you know, nowadays anyway, there's such a big hole left into it. And it's not just our, I mean, my kids and everything say the same thing.
Mhm.
That, I mean, they do listen to stuff that's come out later because it's just there. But, they still love the classical music that I played when they were tiny.
Absolutely.
And my son always, he used to sit there and smile and bob even to Black Sabbath. I used to laugh, right? I go, look, like smile.
Yeah, man.
And he still does, right?
Well, hell, it's interesting. Sean that comes on here, Sian, Sean.
Yeah, Shian, yeah, from
He,
Wales.
he loves Black Sabbath.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he
Well,
loves.
that's what we grew up to. Like we were pretty into hard rock. I mean, I go everything. I mean, I'll listen to Engelbert Humperdinck and Bing Crosby, but more in the hard rock line, the Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, The Who, Stone.
Oh yeah.
Um, that Leonard Skinner, whatever, 10 years after.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember them all. CCR, that kind of thing,
Man, yes, man.
which was on the radio all the time in 68, 9,
I never really
70, and
realized.
73.
It's crazy that, I mean, in my opinion, I was living probably what I consider the best era of time in America.
Yeah.
And
Well, I do. I would have rather been a little older in the late 60s, instead of being like 10 or 11 in the 69.
right, I often thought that also.
Because I could have done, I know, somebody like me would have buggered off out to, what the hell was the big concert in New York? Why's my head broke? Woodstock, stuff like that, or gone down to, I would have probably gone down to San Francisco and Haida and all that shit, just to check it out, Because I mean, I took off in '72 and went across Canada hopping trains and all that, living like a hippie. And I was barely 14. I wasn't even.
Wow, man, you just brought back a lot of memories.
I ran away from home for
Hey,
2
man,
months.
you just brought back a lot of man. Hey, do you remember when? I mean, hey, man, that's what you used to do. You
Yeah,
know?
but I did. I didn't run away from home and come back next day. I went for 2 months. Went to
Right.
Montreal.
I
I went right across the country.
I stayed gone for 3 months.
Oh, that's even longer.
I mean, there was a couple of phone calls in that time, but I stayed gone 3 months.
Yeah, but it was funny when I came back. There was pretty well no rules anymore. It was like, yeah, well, if I don't want a phone and stay out all night, that's the way it is.
Yeah,
I guess I was a little prick because my kids were never like that.
right. Well, hey, man, it was a different time too, Russell.
Yeah, but I was extra rebellious. No, I didn't put them through that much hell. I didn't have the cops at the door or anything like that.
Right, right.
Well, not often. And if it was for something dumb.
Yeah, but you sound kind of like me. I mean, kind of the streets were my life anyway. Kind of
Well,
thing.
yeah. I mean, I was a naturalist kid, so when I was like 5, I was taking off going fishing and catching frogs and garter snakes and whatever else.
Oh yeah.
And then, I was always like into heavy equipment. So I was always buggering around at the train yards and fooling around where the race drivers were tuning up their Boss 302s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was John Hall. He raced in the SCCA and he had a 70 Boss 302s. They're green and blue. He didn't win any races. I think he came in third or something,
Uh-huh.
one or two. But yeah, I used to go down there and talk to them. They'd be firing those things up. You could hear them for $3.
Man, I used to be man. I loved that. I love that.
Yeah, but that was Boss 302s were a pretty hot car to me when I was like 12 or whatever. Like, whoa, jeez, fuck those cars out.
That was the dog daddy, man.
Hey, well, those are the ones that they raced in the SCCA races. With the Camaros, the Z28s with the 302 and the MXs. The MXs did well, They had the 301 in them. I remember watching those races. You said you had a 68 RSSS.
Oh, I had 67, 68, 69s.
Yeah, it's my favorite year, Camaro 68 RSSS folded headlights.
You know what, man? I really liked all of them as long as they had the Rally Sport package on them. I thought they all looked good all those years.
Oh, I do. I liked them all the way up to
reason,
74.
The 67 from the front door back looked like a Corvette.
I like the 68 because it had, like the taillights were better. They're separated ones. Like I thought they looked a little better.
Yeah, they had that little separator in the middle.
Yeah, and the grill on the RS was a little bit better than the one in 67. They made the grill bigger, teeth or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, 67 was the only year that they had electric hideaways. 68 and 69 were vacuum operated.
It's funny. You could get a 68 350 4-barrel and an SSR. The 300 horse one. What was it? No, it was just 300 horse. Or you got a 290 302, right. Or you couldn't, or the LT1.
What they used to call those heads, 375 heads.
Which head?
Heads and
270.
The 370 heads and the dart heads.
Yeah, with the small chamber, 62 cc with a 202 valve. Yeah, all the L82s and the LT1s came with that. Well, the early 365 horse 327s in the vet, they were a different head. They were the camel bump without the bosses.
That's right, the old camel hump.
Yeah, and I forget the 040, weren't they? 049? Yeah. Pretty sure 049s, but there was all different numbers. Like, I mean, you could get like 1970 Police Special 350 that had 62 seat chamber, 194 valves, and they had the big plugs, the big ended plugs, not the taper fit, right? Because they were 69 and 70, yeah, and then they changed over those taper plugs.
Did you ever know anybody on a personal level that had this 69 C?
69 what?
B28.
Yep, Tim Johnson used to hit poles with it all the time.
I knew 3 locals that had 3 of them, and that was kind of rare for in one city.
Oh, Tim kept his, even though he was hitting it all the time. Put a cross ram on there, because that was a dealer option, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
it didn't work with the ship, but it was nice. Red with the black stripes, and he spent millions on that.
Yeah, I remember that Cross Ram. They had a few problems with it.
Yeah, his car never worked because he was just like that. He put pistons in backwards. It was just him. I mean, he'd have a what was that? He had a Cougar Exterminator, a '70 Exterminator, and he used to try racing, and he'd always fucking lose. It was like, Tim, you got a 429 in there. You should be able to do 11s at least. Never mind 1380s. But no, he had the Z20. I can't remember if anybody else I knew had a '69 Z.
Uh-huh.
I knew a guy with a '68 Z. That was a fucking rare one. But he
Oh
moved.
yeah, that's real rare.
Yeah, he moved. It was nice. So he used to come around all the time. We were all, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Four-wheel
But
disc. That was one of the things on the Z's that had the four-wheel disc, didn't it?
I can't remember if it did.
Yeah, I think it
It
had
probably
four-wheel
did.
disc.
Like if it was standard on there, I can't remember if it was an option. I can't remember looking. I know that they had front discs,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was different. You'd see 69s at 28s, and then those times you'd see 70.5s, a split bumper at 71.
Oh, yeah.
But 68s were rare. We'd see RSSSs.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine even had a 427 and a 69 SS. He put it in, or that was put in. It was nice, so it was a turquoise color.
Uh-huh.
Used to come around the corner where my cousin lived with another guy we knew with a 396 and his 68 Chevy Biscayne wagon, and it was quick, like Dave
Oh,
James knew it. And they come around the corner where my cousin lived that night, 1:30 in the morning, and they both had 4-speed, so they'd sidestep the clutch at about $5,000.
yeah, for a
My
long
cousin be going, those 4s be going, what?
time, I remember for a long time in the last house I was living in the backyard, there was, I want to say it was a 59 El Camino with the 40 something. What was
Yeah,
that?
with the big wings. My buddy has one up here. He has two. He has
But
a
it had the
60,
40, it had a six-pack on
409.
it, and it had a six-pack on the damn thing from the factory.
Yeah, did the 409 come with a 6-pack?
Well, this particular one did,
Did
and
they?
it sat back there,
I know
and
it had dual 4s.
yeah,
You could
and
get dual 4s on them.
well, you usually see the six packs, on like the Judge and the Pontiacs and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But
420.
For some reason, I remember, if I'm remembering right, this one had a six pack, and I was like, "What the hell? I've never seen a factory option six pack on this damn car before."
No,
You know,
no, I haven't seen I haven't seen Chevys except for the Vet 427 tri-power.
yeah, I know, it just flipped me out, man. But it stayed there
Yeah.
for the longest time. That was the grandmother's house, and it was originally her. Anyway, it stayed there forever. I don't know what happened to it. I kept trying to talk her out of it, and I could never get her to cut loose of the damn thing. I didn't
Wow,
even
yeah.
like the looks of that, year model at all, but I wanted that damn motor.
Well, actually, they like 59s. There's a certain amount of people that like 59 and 60 El Caminos, right?
Oh yeah.
Not most, like I haven't seen any lowriders with the SS Palas
The
out here
58
much.
Chevy, for some reason,
I remember those.
you don't see a lot of those at all. But I saw one the other day. I drove down to the other week. I was down at the coast, and as I was coming away from the coastline, the antique car show was coming in, and I saw a couple of really nice 58s.
Yeah, they're kind of. I remember when I was a kid, they were somewhat common. Like, say I was when at 8, 10 years old, because I knew every car back then. My brother did, and I remember we came upon by where grandma's lived, and there was a 58 Impala, and it was in the garage. And I remember, me and my brother, oh, that's rare, like that's an Impala. You don't see many of that. And it was a Palace SS too, eh? Because we used to always go down there. Oh, look at that! Look, I like that. That's an Palace S 58. Yeah, that's rare. You didn't, like if you ever did see 58 Impalas, they weren't SSs. And this one he had in the garage. and it probably was, 66 or something, maybe 67.
Uh,
And yeah, it was just sitting there in the garage in an SS. But we knew, even as kids, like that age, we knew it was pretty cool because it was rare. Didn't make
oh,
many SSs in '58. Because I wasn't partial to '57 Chevs. I kind of just thought they were too gaudy. But I was a '55, '56. I like both of them. Right? I
right.
like the '55 front end, '56 tail end.
I've got a couple of buddies that's got two. Matter of fact, one of them's got 355s,
I
and
like
two of them are mint. I mean, mint.
I like the car.
Yeah,
Always did. Ever since I was a little
gas
kid.
nozzle behind the tail light.
Yeah, that's 56. When you
Yeah.
flip the tail light sideways and there's the gas.
That's the last one I restored. As a matter of fact, was a 56. I sure did. It had the original 265 in there,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, man, that was the last one I restored. I think that was the last one I restored.
It's funny up here when people bought like say a 57 or a 58 Chev off the lot, if they got a V8 in it, like a 265 or whatever it was those years, they always had a standard because most people couldn't afford the automatic with the V8. So
Right.
you got the automatic and they'd always have a six. I can remember most of those old cars always having sixes in,
Yeah.
and either a 3 speed on the tree or an automatic. There wasn't many V8s. You get a few, like
Right.
you'd see one 57 Chev with a V8 and it was all like, oh, different.
Yeah.
Most people always had the sixes instead of that 57. They went to a 280. That was 283 that year. So it was 55 and six that had the 265. Yeah,
Right. I think they did go to the 283 right after that.
yeah, because they had the Fuelie, right? The 283 Fuelie,
Yep.
and you could get it in the Impala S and the Fuelie Vet. That was pretty good horsepower for those years. It was 283 horse, a horse per inch.
Right.
So that was pretty good for those
And it
years.
was the torque that always, combined with that, is what most people kind of tend, when they talk horsepower, they
Yeah.
just had a certain torque about them, man.
What the 283
Well, just the V8.
small block?
Yeah, yeah, they just, they were just great to build and everything,
Oh, they're great.
during
Yeah.
that enough time anyway.
No, they always were. I built so many of them, and been around so many of them, whether they're, stroke 383s or 350s. Or,
Right.
I always used to like to build something equivalent for my car if I had it, a truck from an LT1, say from 73 that has 9-to-1 that you can use regular fuel or not. So,
Oh,
because we always had fuel octane problems. And it had a 450 lift cam and a quarter jet, but it still would lay a lot of rubber and have good pull.
yep.
Because they were rated, I don't know, in those years, they rated them at 255, but that would have been with all the options on there. So, they still put out, they still worked decently and they were efficient. And, they're as fuel efficient as any other small block engine.
You
Maybe
know,
not a 305, but whatever.
last time I know all the boys around here were looking for LT1s to drop in their cars and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, the early LT1s are race more or less, so you've got to sit there and adjust your valves because they got solid cams every week or whatever you're going to rev it to, right?
Right.
And they're a little bit more, and they have the Holly on there and that. And, they're race motors. That's for people that
That's
get
right.
under the hood every 2 days and maintain. You can't just drive an LT1 and boot it
That's
around for a week racing everybody and expect it not to be like, because
That's right.
the way a solid cam is, the things where, they seat it. But I always thought that was a little bit too much trouble for me. So, healthy hydraulic cam that isn't too wild, that gives you, horrible idle there, shaking around, not burning any gas.
As far as an everyday,
Mount Everest.
it seems like I remember kind of when the Rochester Quadrajet came along. It was kind of like,
Yep.
or kind of, in other words, you didn't have to tinker with it all the time.
Yeah, I got into rebuilding and doing performance on quarter jets.
Yep.
Like in the, if you go to a 1970 429, they actually use probably the most done out quarter jet design. for that motor. I don't know why Ford they just did.
Right.
But the one thing about a quadrajet is the float bowl is too small.
Right.
And if you're doing any cornering or any kind of like that, the float bowl that starves one side all the time. That you can try baffling, but
Go around
it's
the
too
damn turn and you got a flat spot.
exactly. They're just the design is too small of a float bowl. A Carter AFB is better. You know, like the ones that
The
Brock
Carter
has.
was better. The Carter was.
Yeah, better of a spread bore. Yeah.
Yep. The Carter was my big thing for quite some time.
Well, I used to, like I didn't really like Holly mileage those at idle or low, but like for big blocks like a 780 vacuum secondaries works good,
Right.
but you still have I don't know they seem to burn a lot of gas like a part throttle. I mean they're great wide open when you got the velocity.
Secondary jets were rather large.
No, I'm just talking a Holly like on a
Oh,
780 you got the
oh,
same
gotcha.
you got the same ventures, but in a quadrajet jet like to drive in the city and just goof around with and get good power when you need it. They're fine. Like I mean, they work well.
That was the sound they'd always make, right?
Yeah. Flip the air cleaner and just get the big
That's
moan.
right, man. I used to do that too.
Everybody did. Well, car people anyway.
Yeah, that's right, man.
Oh yeah, like even if the old man had a 4-barrel and a 350, it'd flip the air cleaner.
Yeah, yeah.
It seemed like all the cars we bought had 354 barrels. Like even beater cars now, we get 74 Monte Carlos or 74 Buick Regals or stuff like that. 74 Olds Cutlasses, 70s.
That's right.
So they always had a quarter jet on there. Like if you bought a big boat anchor, they always had one. After
They
60.
always had one, didn't they?
Oh yeah, if it was a tiny car with a big block after 65, whether it was Buick, Pontiac, Olds, they all had quarter jets. I used to change the metering rods in them, and I'd do the actually vacuum metering hanger actuator. Like when you boot it, the back and then lets the hanger pull up the metering rods on the secondary.
That's right.
And do some of the vents on there. You drove them out, well vents.
Do you usually put weaker springs on the secondary?
Yeah, sometimes I used to bend them so that they open a little easier. But you don't want them to flap, right? If they
Right.
flap and then close again, then so
That's
you'd
right.
have to put some tension on them. But what I used to do sometimes on my primaries is on your power piston, I stretch out that or compress that spring in a bit. So, but that's just primary stuff. It doesn't, wide open throttles, wide open throttle.
Right.
But I used to step up. What I used to do is I'd use on the power piston on the primary metering rods. I used to use 72 jets, sometimes 74, but I'd step them up different. So if I was at cruising speed on the highway, it'd be pretty lean, on the top step, and then you'd go down. I used to switch them around all the time. I used to grind my secondary metering rods.
Man, that was the fun days. And every time you'd make a change, you could tell the difference in the change that you made.
Yeah, don't remind me of that because I used to have 2 carbs, right? And I'd work on one and then I'd work on the other and keep flipping them. And one time I did that. I went down testing them. I just out of the corner of my eye, I went by probably about 100 miles an hour, right? And I went, I hope that isn't what I fucking thought it was sitting in the cubby hole between those buildings. Because if it is, he's going to be flying after me. And then I looked out my mirror about halfway back and I could see blue and red lights on off. But you know what I did? I got in a high-speed chase. Well, no, I just got away. He never got close. But that's what happened when I was testing my car. And he came and chased me. But he never found me. So I guess when I was hiding there and hearing his 4-barrel everywhere trying to look for me, that's the only time I ever got in a chase. And it wasn't really a chase because he wasn't in on my bumper.
Yeah, Russell, you just reminded me of something. So when I first started drag racing bikes down at the drag strip, I got my first drag bike was a 74 Z1 Kawasaki. And
Oh yeah, is that
74,
a triple?
it was a, no, that was the 500 is what the triple
Right, right, and the 750 too.
the 500 was a triple, and I looked and looked. I always wanted one because I went riding with a buddy of mine that had one, and we got riding around the lake. And man, we would be going like 80 miles an hour, and he just goosed that thing and pulled the front wheel up and just. And I had a Z1 900, and
Hmm.
man, that 500 was a mean machine. It really was. But you talk about running from the police, I'll never forget this, man. So I got drinking a couple of beers with a couple of buddies of mine after we went down to the drag strip, and we were over there at his house. And they, I had a couple of beers, and they go, "Come on," because I was in the wheelie contest at the time, and they, "Come on, man, pop a couple." So I got out there, and I had the 4-in-1 header on it and all that stuff, and it was pretty loud, man. So the neighbors called the police. So right before the police was pulling up, I said, "Well, guys, I'll check y'all later, man." As soon as I got on the bike, man, here comes the police. And man, it just hit me wrong. And I said, "I'm out of here." And man, they had 25 fucking cops chasing me. And I went to, we used to call it the Black Bridge. It was a barricaded off bridge. It was so old that they
Yeah.
barricaded it off and just let people walk across it. I went I went to that bridge, and that's the way I got away from them because I went on the sidewalk, and they were barricaded off. But they were smart, man. They knew I was heading for that bridge, and
Yep.
they radioed ahead and had the cops sitting on the other side. So I got through the first barricade, went across the bridge, and all of a sudden I stopped at the other side of the bridge, and there they were. They were waiting on me. I popped the front wheel up and went right towards a man, and they almost grabbed me off my bike, man. But I'll never forget that feeling with the cops' hands going across my shoulders, man. They almost pulled me off the bike. And but I had about 25 cops chasing me on that damn thing, and I pulled up into an old girlfriend's house. I hadn't seen her in 3 4 years, and I just got lucky as hell. I pulled up in her driveway and went to her garage, put my motorcycle in her garage real quick, and started knocking on her back door. And she was there. She just happened to be there, man. She said, "What the hell are you doing here?" I said, "Let me in right now. The cops are after me." And she let me in, man. And she took me. Her bedroom was in the front of her house. I'll never forget this. She took me up there, long time no see, and we went up there and to her front bedroom and watched all the cops. She said, "What the hell have you done?" And I said, I was over there drinking a couple beers, and they started chasing me, and I just decided to run.
They hate that,
Oh
when
man,
people take off on them and they don't catch you.
they
If
sat
they catch you, they'll beat you for that. They
hell
just fucking
yes,
hate
man.
it.
They will beat the shit out of you. And
Oh yeah,
they
you make a
wait.
fool out of us.
Yeah, they waited at each corner of my neighborhood for 2 months after that. I never brought that bike back to the house, man.
Well,
And
they
I had a,
take it personally.
well,
They take it personally.
I had a full cover helmet on, so they
Yeah,
couldn't. They didn't get a good look at my face.
yeah,
And
or your plate.
at the time, I had just got back from the drag strip, so I didn't even have a tag on it.
Yeah, so
So,
that's what when they classify it as you fuck with us and score. And they get
yeah,
really really mad. They really get mad. I
they were
remember
pissed.
you know
They were pissed, man.
because I remember taking off on them on foot. A few times from.
They hate that.
Oh yeah, and then when you get away, and then they get you like the next day or something like that, they've got their knee on you and your hand. They're breaking your arm.
Well, I heard through the neighborhood that they were within that 2 month period. They were talking to all the neighbors and everything, man. And
Well,
I'm they kind of knew it was me, but they couldn't prove it, so they were waiting for me to bring that bike back to the house so they could pull in on me. And I never brought it back to the house after that.
Well, you know what? A guy we knew back in 19, I guess it'd be about 79. He used to be in the Army Cadets, right?
Hmm.
So anyway, he had access to certain things. So he had a tear gas bomb. We went up to the RCMP, which is our police in North Vancouver, and they have a cafe downstairs for the staff, right, and the police when they're doing shift change. Well, they have windows that are open there, because it's summertime. Well, he goes up there with Kevin Robar and chucks that tear gas bomb inside the police station. So that they took off, and Kevin Robar, I remember he said he was running as fast as he could. He stopped, turned around, and just started walking normally down the sidewalk, just pretending he was this person walking down the sidewalk. Eh? And that was police running out, and they were firemen across. The fire station was right across the road. But you know how mad they got? Like we all knew who did it, and they were mad about that for like a year.
Right.
And they were even they had ads all over. If you know anybody, we'll give you a reward. And I could have just imagined if they'd caught him. But yeah, I've never seen anybody take something so personal. Like
Oh man, they hate this stuff. And you
but
imagine
that's
trying
a
to do anything
tear
like that nowadays?
but buddy, it was a tear gas bomb. So they had to evacuate the whole building for like a
Wow.
day.
But you know what, man? I'm sorry, but that's just what we bad boys did back then. You know,
I I
we
don't
had
know if I'd
fun.
I don't know if I'd had the guts to do it, but I might have. Like I might have thought, okay, I could just throw it in there and run and then jump into over there and get out of there. But I don't know if I'd have done it. But they did.
Yeah, they hate that stuff, man.
Oh God. They took it really personally. I couldn't believe how many ads and in the local papers,
Oh yeah,
everything, just trying so hard to find out who dared throw a tear gas canister into the police station. How dare you? They were just so embarrassed by it. I thought they went overboard. I went, get over it for fuck's sake. You're never gonna find out who did it because I ain't telling you.
right. I think
And they're
leaked me out. In other words, I had people in the neighborhood coming up to me all the time saying, "Hey, man, the police were here asking questions, man, but I didn't tell them nothing and all that stuff."
yeah,
And man,
right.
I think eventually, man, I was paranoid, man, for about 3 or 4 months after that. But they they had enough information. They knew it was me, but they just couldn't.
Couldn't prove it.
They just sit there and wait for me to bring that thing home for 2 months straight, man.
Or if you did anything else, either they'd be on you too.
Yeah. I don't even think they got the work right. Back then, they had the workforce to put the man hours into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Actually, I met good cops too. It's just,
That's right.
I mean, when we were really young, they used to harass us. But we'd do stuff like, I don't know, 14 years old, be stoned on acid, and in the middle of the town, like the village we called it. It was, like where the stores were and that. And it wasn't very big. It was probably like 3 blocks long by about two. Well, we'd go out there in the middle of the night, not a car, right? Well, the only car you're going to see out there at 2:30 in the morning or 3 is a cop car.
Uh-huh.
So I'd be standing right in the middle of the fucking road, waiting for the cops. And then as soon as they came down, you'd see their headlights, and then they'd stop at the corner. I'd run. And oh God, that's what happened all night long. All night long, they would be chasing us. And
Right.
Garth, my friend, he knew that where there was a knife switch for the main power in the whole village, right? From the way back, and he knew where it was, but he'd go and throw that switch, and all the lights would go off.
Right. Right. Why is that, man? You could just take off running, and they would always chase you. You didn't even do anything.
But there was other times, like my buddy Jeff Barriscale, he had his mom, like his dad was dead, and he was only 15. I guess I was 14. My brother was 15, 16. No, we weren't old enough to drive. And he had a 64 Galaxy with
Three
it had
months.
390 4 barrel
That's right.
ragtop. Ragtop was an XLT, right? It was everything in there. Nice door panels, console. And we'd open the garage, we'd push it out at about 1:30 in the morning. His mom would be in bed. We'd push it out in the street, and then push it, and we'd take off all night and go driving.
Man, that 390 would haul ass too.
Oh, can you imagine all these kids? The oldest one in there is 50, they're all 100 miles an hour going down.
Right. I mean, hey man, that thing would run.
And then we'd come and push it back in, early in the morning when it was birds chirping and everything. And okay, we're gone. And I remember he used to make jokes to his mom and go, yeah, like how the car felt getting the tires wearing out, especially
Yeah.
that back rear tire. It's pretty worn.
I wonder why my tires are getting so wore out.
Yeah, that rear right tire sure is bald. The other one isn't.
Exactly.
Oh, gee, what? How did that happen?
Exactly.
Well, that was one-wheel drive, right? And then with the 394, well, it just roast the tire for about a block.
Right. Right. That's right.
But yeah, I don't know. Nowadays, I think we never got caught. That's the thing. We never got police coming behind us and that.
Not just
And we'd be
me.
out for 5 hours.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, back then, well, the population and everything back then, man. I mean, being as I'm only 29. Man, it was just different. Everything was.
Well, and also that car, it didn't look like anything. It didn't. They didn't expect teenagers driving in it.
That's right.
Because it was only like, I don't know, 7 years old, and it looked perfect. It was in nice shape, so it wasn't like, well, there's not gonna be teenagers in that car.
Right. Exactly.
It's got normal tires on it and everything. It
Right.
doesn't have shackles and jacked up.
Right.
But yeah, we never got stopped in it. That's what amazes me nowadays.
Right.
But I guess it was a different era.
Yeah. I mean, the whole era of time back then. I mean, it
You
used to.
couldn't repeat it.
Is it just me? But no, things were just so. I don't even know
Simpler.
that word. It was just. You didn't have the population. The cops
No.
weren't busy with rapists and murderers and bank robbers. They had time on their hands to just chase you for whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, that's it. I mean, I don't know. It was a different era. There wasn't the same pressures then as now. I mean,
Right.
sure, there was crime then and whatnot, but it was always mostly in areas that had crime, right? Other areas didn't. There wasn't like B&Es happening all the time. I mean, there was around reserves, but generally there wasn't really a large criminal faction, especially up in Canada. There's not a lot of people shooting each other except the drug people, especially in those years. I can remember not like murders happening in the city. I guess they did, but
Well, they did, but on a lot lower level. But you did
yeah, you
media
know,
spreading all the news around.
yeah. But there wasn't really the big drug dealing going on there, the big cocaine money. That was more in the 80s. That came around the
Right.
mid 80s.
That's right.
That's back then it was like acid and stuff. And yeah, there was junkies around, but there wasn't like big money. I
Right.
guess there was one element, but it wasn't really popular. So I don't know how much money you're gonna make off 5 junkies. There wasn't a lot of, like I say, addicts. Probably about the same amount now, maybe more. Hardcore crack addicts and shit like that you didn't see then, right? You'd see speed freaks and I guess junkies, but very seldom. You'd have to go right down to Gastown or whatever. We didn't know anybody that was a junkie or pill pop or anything. Generally. I'm gonna step out for a minute.
All right, go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, I think I'm going to call it a night now, buddy.